Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source. We appreciate having you. We appreciate you joining us today. I thought it was going to be just a fun show all around. Vols were going to beat Memphis in basketball. Hendon Hooker returns, top 15 signing class. But as I said yesterday on Twitter, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. The Memphis game gets canceled. We'll discuss whether or not that's the end of the rivalry between Tennessee and Memphis. Does Tennessee need it like they maybe once needed it? We'll get into the signing class. We'll get into Hendon Hooker. A lot of football, a lot of basketball. I also want to start by saying thanks to all of you. Once again, I talk about how loyal you are. Last week, there was a technical issue. We taped a show, which is a rarity. We're live today. Taped a show last week, and we didn't start on time. It didn't get rolled properly, and we still wound up with a good rating. I can't believe so many of you just sat there and watched Black for 5 minutes and then stuck with the show. So thank you for that. And on that note, today we haven't had a run-through on this show with the new director's booth here at Channel 6. So things may be a little wonky today. If so, my apologies. It's part of having new technical equipment. All right, first segment of our program. Let's get right into this thing. It's brought to you by our friends at the Garza Law Firm. When it comes to legal help, you need to turn to people here in East Tennessee who know the local system, know the people in that system. That's why so many of these law firms that you're just now hearing of for the first time out there, they advertise all over the place. They want you to think they're from East Tennessee. Most of them aren't. If you go look at their websites, you're going to look down there at the bottom and see, oh, Birmingham, with a Knoxville office where they got a paralegal and a fax machine. I don't know, people still have fax machines? Some people. Some people do. The lawyers that do this stuff, they've got fax machines. That's another reason you don't want to use them. What you want to do is you want to go with a local attorney. And the local team to turn to, Marcos Garza and the Garza Law Firm. These are good folks. They've been in this market for a long, long time. Trust them with your legal needs. GarzaLaw.com. All right, let's welcome in the first round of panelists today. We have former Vol assistant basketball coach under Conzo Martin and Bruce Pearl, Mark Pankratz. Mark, also a former Division I basketball player at Milwaukee. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Right next to you, former Vol basketball player Isaiah Victor. Isaiah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Always good to have you. Down here we have Jimmy Himes from 99.1 The Sports Animal. You can hear him Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 on Sports Talk. Thanks to you.
Thank you.
And down there, thanks to Chuck Cavaleris, longtime sports writer in this community, longtime member of the Sports Source panel, as they pat each other. And it's just camaraderie left and right here on the side. Okay, let's take a look at the cancellation timeline or cancellation overview, whatever you want to call it, from yesterday. Obviously, as you know, the game was canceled due to Memphis COVID issues inside their program. 2 players, most of this is according to the Memphis Commercial Appeal, 2 players tested positive on Saturday morning, and thus they shut the thing down at the last possible minute. The rest of the team was ruled out due to contact tracing. Memphis was not 100% vaccinated. There was talk of that yesterday, that, well, they're 100%. No, they weren't, not according to the Memphis Commercial Appeal. Rick Barnes says that UT was given a heads up at 9:25 a.m. Central Time. The game was scheduled for 11 a.m. It was canceled about 70 minutes before tip-off, so there was no advanced warning of this. Whether Memphis could have given advanced warning or not, that's debatable. Probably depends on which side you're asking. Barnes says, hey, there is no chance for a replay of this game this year. They don't have any openings on their schedule, no time to redo it. So Barnes and UT went out and held a scrimmage for the 500 or so fans who hung out there at Bridgestone Arena, which was a class move. I thought that was a good deal. Let's give them something to look at. But the trick here, and this is what I want to focus on in this segment, is this has not exactly been a good blood rivalry anyway, and not just the Florida fans, Tennessee fans kind of back and forth type stuff. These administrations, over time, have not been exactly partners. They don't trust one another. It didn't help that Penny Hardaway a couple of years ago came out and made some ridiculous comments about Rick Barnes that were disrespectful for a guy that's been coaching for a long, long time. That didn't help matters. But my question, is this rivalry over now? Memphis wants to play Tennessee in football. Tennessee doesn't want to. Mm-hmm. Tennessee's cool with playing Memphis in basketball. Memphis would rather play football. They've tried to leverage back and forth. Is this it? Is this the end of this thing? Jimmy, I'll start with you.
I don't think it is. I think it is for the next few years because Rick Barnes, I think he has said before that he wants to play other in-state schools, but I don't think it's into the rivalry. I think you'll see them playing down the road at some point. Look, there'll be different coaches at Tennessee and Memphis in 5-7 years, who knows. But I do think that they'll continue to play it. And one reason I think they'll continue to play it is they're basically the two best basketball programs in the state of Tennessee. And usually there's a lot on the line when they play each other.
All right, well, let me change the question then. Is it over as long as Barnes and Hardaway are the coaches?
Probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because I don't see any move to get it on the football field either. It's not on the schedule at the moment.
Well, who needs this most? Memphis, by far, to me, needs it more than Tennessee does. And you were going to play in Memphis one year, Knoxville one year, Nashville one year. So, I think they're going to have to I think there's a lot more explaining that needs to happen about how this took place. And if they did not know the day before, as some people seem to feel, that there was an indication there might have been a problem on Friday. I feel sorry, John, for all the fans that woke up in a fog advisory here, drove in a downpour to get there.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're checking into the Omni and other expensive hotels. Game's
suddenly,
called.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree with Jimmy.
Guys, you've hinted at this, Mark. A couple of weeks ago, you were on the show and said, Tennessee had no problem getting Kennedy Chandler. It's not because you're going into Memphis every year. Is this rivalry even needed? Chuck said Memphis needs it more than Tennessee. Years ago, there was this belief that Tennessee had to get into Memphis because that's where the recruits are. I view it, everybody recruits nationally anyway now. I mean, Knoxville is closer to Indianapolis than it is Memphis. That's true. Closer to Indianapolis, closer to Columbus, Ohio than it is Memphis. Is this rivalry kind of overblown in terms of Tennessee needing it anyway?
Well, I think it was amplified too when you had the personalities of a Calipari and a Bruce Pearl. That kind of took it to another level. Both teams were really successful at that time.
Top five.
And now it's not there. To your point, recruiting-wise, Kennedy Chandler out of Memphis, and there's not been much of a rivalry the last handful of years. So Memphis, to Chuck's point, does need it more than Tennessee. But I do think it is good for the fans. I do think it is the two best basketball programs consistently in the state. So it is a good rivalry for fans. But from a pure basketball standpoint, Memphis needs it more than Tennessee. And if I'm Tennessee, especially if Penny Hardaway wants to be arrogant in some of his comments and how he handles things, Barnes and the next coach can just step away from it, because it's like giving your little brother an opportunity. Why would you allow that opportunity and put your program in peril with a loss? So if I'm Tennessee, selfishly, I would step away from it.
I'm kind of with you. I think I would just say, you need it more than me, so take a flying leap. Especially Barnes has made it clear he's more than happy to play the thing in Nashville. It's Memphis that wants to do the home and home. So, again, this idea that, you got to get into Memphis. Rick Barnes doesn't think so. Isaiah, give me a player's perspective. You look at it, I'm sure, from, it's a good team. I want to play a good team or a rival. What's your view of the Tennessee-Memphis rivalry? Should this thing be played, or would you tell them to stick it?
It should absolutely be played every single year. It's North Carolina Duke, it's Kentucky Louisville. Recruiting, I don't care so much about it, but the players want to play. Some of these guys are from Memphis. They know each other, right? So, in Penny, if he wants to be cocky and we feel like that, let's settle all our differences on the court. Let's put it on the wood and let's settle our differences there. I think it'd be crazy. If we did not play this game, it'd be a business decision, and that just takes the fun out of it.
Now you want to play them, just don't have clenched fists, right? You know,
don't ball up your fist.
Yeah, ball up your fist.
Well,
You might have
Isaiah,
to.
Yeah.
And it's not about do you need Memphis. It's about what should be a great stage for college basketball, because they are two really good basketball teams. That's what I like about it. That's why I would like to see it continue. Now, the question was, do I think it will? I don't. But I would like to see it, because I think it puts two really quality programs against each other. And I don't mind a little friction between the programs.
Hey,
I guess I look at, if you took Memphis off and gave me you've got Arizona and Memphis this year, but next year you take Memphis off and put Duke on there. And the next year it's not Memphis, it's Georgetown or somebody that's a name. I would rather see that, personally, than Memphis every year. But I do get Isaiah's point.
Yeah,
These guys
not
go
in lieu of
at each
Memphis,
other since AAU days.
Hey, let's
Right.
don't forget, guys, the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee has been known to put teams like this in the same kind of bracket to where they would have a chance to meet. I think that would be wonderful.
Oh, you may
yeah.
see each other anyway?
Anyway, yes, sir. Yes,
What did
sir.
you think about Rick Barnes' response to the way everything went down yesterday? I mean, he got word at the last minute, if it's true what Memphis is saying, And let me say this: there are so many people out there that are saying, "Well, Memphis, they faked this, or they went partying the other night and they just pretended it's COVID." And then there's the other side that came back, even had a state representative from out in West Tennessee saying Tennessee's scared to play. That's why they won't reschedule. Anybody here think Tennessee or Memphis players or coaches are scared of one another?
No.
That's
No,
ridiculous,
no.
right? Okay. The question is, did Rick Barnes respond, or just tell me, what did you think of his response?
I think it's
'Cause he was mad,
what
clearly.
it should, and I get there's the different protocols, but in the SEC, what he had talked about was that it's a forfeit if you can't play. And so, one, I think Memphis should have to forfeit for consequences that maybe were in their control, but maybe were not in control. Secondarily, when you look at, he talked about in his comments about Rob Lanier's team. They had some guys on their team that had tested positive. They went up there without a handful of their starters, handful of their backups. They had to play walk-ons. And they were committed to playing that game versus Rhode Island on the road from Georgia, and they still went. It's a sign of character that their team went up there and still played the basketball game. Again, Memphis, because such a short turnaround, may not have been in a position to be able to make that decision. But to me, I think Barnes doing that scrimmage for the fans, to Chuck's point, that did come down, was a class move and do everything they could. Lady Vols letting those tickets be for their game last night for Stanford. UT handled it the best that they could.
Yep, agreed. All right, we are way over, so let's get into the next deal, and that is Tennessee versus Arizona. They are number one in the net rankings that the NCAA uses at tournament time. How important is this game for Tennessee's resume coming up? And then we'll talk to these two about just the brand, Tennessee versus Arizona. That's just a cool matchup in my view. We'll discuss that next. Come on back on the Sports Source.
You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is